Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take that stack of sources you send us and, well, try to make sense of it all.
Turn it into something clear.
Exactly. And today, we're diving into the world of information security auditing. You've sent over some really interesting material focusing on two roles that honestly can seem a bit confusing. The ISO 27001 internal auditor and the lead auditor.
Yeah, they often get mixed up.
Right. So our mission today is to pull out the key bits of info to really understand what makes these roles distinct, their responsibilities, how they fit into an organization's information security management system, the ISMS, and importantly, how they're actually quite different.
Fundamentally different, yeah.
Let's maybe think about a fictional company like Secure Bytes Inc. Tech startup, growing fast, wants that ISO 27001 certification. Who do they need first? Who signs off at the end?
Good example.
We're going to get to the bottom of how these two audit functions work, hopefully together, to keep a company like Secure Bytes safe.
It's true, you hear auditor, and it sounds like some job description. But the details here, they're really important for understanding how information security actually works effectively.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Starting with the internal auditor. If Secure Bytes is serious about certification, they definitely need someone in this role, right? Usually someone inside the company.
That's right. Typically, yes. It's often a trained person who already works within the organization.
And what's their main goal for Secure Bytes in this scenario? What are they trying to achieve?
Well, their core purpose is basically to be the company's own internal checkup for its security. They're looking at the ISMS, that whole framework Secure Bytes uses to manage sensitive info.
Right, the system itself.
Exactly. And they evaluate how effective it is. Are there gaps? Are there risks? Are there things that, don't quite line up with the ISO 27001 standard?
So finding problems before they become big problems.
Precisely. Think of them as the internal security detective, always looking for those weak spots internally.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So day to day, what does this detective work or health check actually involve for our Secure Bytes internal auditor? What are they doing?
Okay, so their responsibilities start with planning and then actually doing those internal audits. This links directly to the ISO standard, specifically Clause 9.2.
Ah, the part that says you have to do internal checks.
Exactly. It mandates it. So they're constantly checking if Secure Bytes is following its own security policies and procedures. And that means, identifying nonconformities, pointing out risks, finding areas where things could be better improvement.
And then reporting that back.
Absolutely. They write up internal audit reports, and crucially, they make sure that any findings lead to actual corrective actions.
Yeah.
It's all about that cycle of continuous improvement driven from the inside.
Okay, continuous improvement. But here's a question, since they are internal, part of Secure Bytes, how do they stay objective? Isn't that tricky?
That's a really good point, and it's critical. It can be a balancing act, but it's essential. First, they need a solid grasp of the ISO 27001 standard itself. That's a given.
Sure.
They also need to know about general auditing principles. Often, this comes from another standard, ISO 19011, which gives guidelines for auditing any management system.
Okay.
And yes, objectivity and impartiality are paramount, even as an employee. Their job is to help Secure Bytes improve, not just rubber stamp things. And of course, good communication and report writing skills are vital to get those findings across clearly.
And training for this. The sources mention an ISO IE 27001 internal auditor course. Sounds like it's pretty focused, maybe 1 or 2 days.
Yeah, that's typical. 1 or 2 days usually covers the audit cycle, how to write reports, different techniques you might use.
Yeah.
Gets them up to speed on the specifics of internal auditing for 27001.
Okay, so Secure Bytes has its internal auditor working away, checking things, helping them get their ISMS ready. But then comes the big step, proving this to the outside world, right? Customers, partners. And that's where the lead auditor comes in. This is where it gets maybe a bit more formal.
Definitely more formal and often external. A lead auditor is usually a certified professional. They might work for an external certification body, the people who actually issue the ISO certificates, or they could be a consultant.
So not usually a Secure Bytes employee.
Typically not, although sometimes a highly qualified internal person can lead internal audits. But for the certification audit itself, it's almost always someone external. Their main role is leading the audit team for those big official audits, the initial certification audit, or the surveillance audits later on.
Surveillance audits, like checkups?
Yeah, periodic checks have to get certified to make sure you're staying compliant. The lead auditor is like the independent expert who gives that final official assessment.
Okay, so their scope sounds much wider, leading the whole audit process. What does that actually involve?
Yeah, it's end-to-end. They plan the audit, coordinate everything, not just with SecureBytes, the auditee, but also with their own audit team members.
You're right, they manage a team.
They do. They ensure the audit scope, the objectives, the criteria, all that is clear and met. They're evaluating compliance across the board, looking very closely at all the ISO 27001 clauses and those specific security controls listed in Annex A.
Annex A, right? The list of controls.
That's the one. And ultimately, they issue the formal audit findings and make the big recommendation. Should SecureBytes get certified? Or what follow-up actions are needed first?
Wow, okay. That definitely sounds like a higher level of responsibility. What kind of skills do they need? It must be more than just knowing the standard.
Oh, absolutely. They need a really deep, nuanced understanding of both ISO 27001 and that auditing guideline standard, ISO 19011. But beyond the technical stuff, audit management skills are huge. Leadership, team coordination.
Makes sense, managing the team and the process.
Exactly. And they need to be able to assess really complex systems, IT, security processes, organizational structures, the whole lot. And this is key. They must have completed a specific accredited lead auditor course. Usually it's one recognized by bodies like IRCA or Exemplar Global.
That accreditation is mandatory.
For leading certification audits for recognized bodies, yes, absolutely.
And that training is a bigger deal too, isn't it? The sources mentioned a 5-day course for the lead auditor certification with an exam and everything.
That's right. It's typically an intensive 5-day course. It includes a tough exam, practical audit simulation, so you practice doing it, and leads to an actual recognized certification if you pass.
Yeah.
Much more involved than the internal auditor course.
Okay, so it's kind of like the internal auditor helps SecureBytes get their house in order, checks all the wiring, the plumbing, make sure it's up to code internally.
Yeah, good analogy.
And then the lead auditor is the official inspector who comes in for the big formal inspection of the whole property before signing off.
That's a great way to put it. The internal auditor ensures readiness, identifies issues early. The lead auditor provides that independent, comprehensive validation needed for certification.
So bringing it all together for SecureBytes or any company, let's really nail down the specific differences because they both audit, but it's clear they're not the same job.
Absolutely. Let's break it down based on what the sources highlight.
Okay.
First, the role. Internal auditor, usually an employee, part of the internal team. Lead auditor, typically external, independent, or maybe a certified internal person leading formal audits.
Right. Inside versus outside, generally.
Generally, yes. Then, purpose. Internal auditor focuses on routine internal checks, finding gaps, driving internal improvement.
Yep.
Lead auditor conducts those formal audits for certification or ongoing surveillance. High stakes.
Got it. Improvement versus certification.
Exactly. Training. Internal auditor needs that 1-2-day internal course. Lead auditor needs the accredited 5-day course with the exam and certification. Big difference in intensity and recognition.
Great.
Scope. The internal auditor might look at specific departments or processes within SecureBytes, like just HR data or just the cloud setup. The lead auditor looks at everything organization-wide compliance with the whole standard.
Broader view for the lead auditor.
Much broader. And finally, frequency. Internal audits happen based on SecureBytes' own schedule, maybe quarterly, maybe more often. Lead auditor audits for certification are typically annual events set by the certification body.
Makes sense. Regular internal checks, less frequent but major external validation.
Precisely.
And it's interesting, even though they're so different, the sources point out they both use some common ground, right? Like ISO 27, the ISO 1 itself, Clause 9.2 for internal audits, Clause 7.2 on competence.
Yes.
And both often use ISO 19011 for the how-to of auditing.
That's right. ISO 1911 provides the general guidelines for auditing management systems, so it's relevant to both internal and external auditors. They're using similar principles, just applying them for different purposes and scopes.
So like reading from the same playbook, but playing different positions on the field?
That's a good way to think about it.
Yeah.
So if we were to sum it up really concisely, internal auditor assesses performance internally. Certification for them is optional. Training is shorter. The audit is internal. Lead auditor leads external certification audits. Their certification is mandatory for that role. Training is that intensive 5-day accredited course. And the audit type is external third party.
Clear distinction.
Yeah. And understanding this, connecting it to the bigger picture, it's crucial for anyone in security or compliance. Or even if you're just curious about how these global standards actually work to protect information and build trust in the digital world.
Absolutely. And that really brings us to the end of this deep dive. I think we've managed to untangle those two roles pretty well.
Hopefully.
We've seen the internal auditor, like at SecureBytes, providing that vital internal checkup, constantly helping the organization refine and improve its security from within.
The continuous improvement engine.
Right. And then the lead auditor stepping in for that high-level independent validation, crucial for getting certified and showing the world, essentially, that your security is robust.
Two sides of the same security coin.
Exactly. Both auditors, yes, but with very different jobs, different skills needed, different goals. But ultimately, they work together, don't they, to strengthen that overall security posture.
They absolutely should, which, thinking about it, maybe raises a final question for people to consider.
Oh, go on.
Well, in today's world, with threats evolving so quickly, how do these two functions, the internal deep dive from the internal auditor and the external validation from the lead auditor, how do they collectively really strengthen a company's defenses? And what does that mean for building digital environments we can actually trust?
That's a great point. How does that synergy really play out in practice against modern threats? Something definitely worth thinking about.
Indeed.
So we encourage you, our listeners, to mull that over. Think about how these roles might impact your own work, or just how important this kind of structured auditing is for keeping organizations resilient. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.